Good afternoon, this is Mark at the Wicked Edge Expert Corner group and YouTube channel. And I want to talk about slop. The term came up. I used to use it. I was one of those guys back in the 2016, 2017 that threw out terms like that to find fault in the hardware to try to explain why my outcomes weren't as good as I wanted them to be. And I remember there was a guy that was there, Tom Meyer, before me, long before me, with a lot of experience, an engineer. And he and Clay shared with us the engineering aspect of the slop. And the reality of it is it's bunk. Because when you put a stone on a guide rod, you're sliding along the guide rod. You're touching the knife in contact, and the guide rod is simply guiding you. And you're guided along the guide rod with the stone the whole way through. So it's a solid contact. If you, the sharpener, me, the operator, does it right. It's full, flat, solid contact. There's no slop there. The slop that came up that I'm referring to is a post from February of 2024. That's 2 years ago now, when Wicked Edge first introduced the Gen 4 Pro with these new dampened swivels. And that came from the Gen 3 Pro, which had ball-end swivels, which easily roll. These are dampened and they don't roll. And it was a nice feature that Wicked Edge introduced, that when the guide rod was in here and the stone was in here, it has inside of here a dampening apparatus that keeps your guide rods from flopping. So there's no slop, but there's flop. And the flop, there is no slop in here. Let me step back before. For you guys that have been around here longer than me, and there's a lot of you, when you started, we had these black center handles. And we had the 1/4-inch guide rods. And there was a little more slop, a little more space, a little more tolerance. And people like me would say, well, that slop is contributing to my less than expected outcomes. And then back to what I just said, the truth is it's not. If you do it right, it's unnoticeable. But because of that, and let me step back again. At the same time, 2015, 2014, 2016, the adjusters on the Wicked Edge 100, the 120 was the top of the line. That one got introduced with micro adjusters, and those micro adjusters were with the ball ends. Prior to that, it was a knuckle. And the knuckle was a mechanical knuckle. And that, with the 1/4-inch guide rods and this, and the difficulty of learning to get it, to figure it out, those are all excuses that get thrown around why the hardware is contributing to your less than expected outcomes. Okay, so as Wicked Edge grew and improved, they changed the handles that had a little slop. They wanted to go to a handle that they could produce in a, I guess, a more efficient and more profitable manner. So they went to the ABS molded handles, also color coded. And when they came out, the tolerance was just slightly more. So right around the same time, they introduced a new guide rod to take care of that slop. And it went, let me step back, it went from like this with the new handles to the new guide rod that was made to match these handles, that you started to get a sing because it was so close that the guide rods would, I'm trying to find one that sings loudly, that they would sing on there. And then there were some of us that complained that why are my guide rods screaming at me when I'm trying to sharpen? Whereas I liked it because I heard the sliding and not a little bit of a rattle. So to me, the slop that I was complaining about really didn't exist. And now it really didn't exist because Wicked Edge remanufactured and improved the tolerance between the guide rods and the stones. So now they say, okay, so the flop thing, the slop thing, that just comes around, and that term got thrown out there like the original, these are original Wicked Edge Gen 3 Pro adjuster. There is no slop in that ball. This is an aftermarket Wicked Edge adjuster that's mounted, so there's a lot of things that can move. There is no slop in there. There is flop because it rolls loosely. And Wicked Edge took care of the flop with the dampened adjuster. At the Expert Corner, we took care of the flop by putting on a backrest. So now when you put your stone down, you have a place to rest them. But the post that came forward that was originally posted in 2024, the person who posted it was attempting to work on something that never really came to fruition. So I am speaking to you guys that are new users looking to buy and want to buy the newest, latest, best, and then maybe improve it if you can, if there's aftermarket stuff. Or you other guys like my mate down in Australia that's going from one kit to the next as he steps up, you know, like flipping houses. He's going from one Wicked Edge to the next as he steps up, and he's looking to get all the components that are the latest and the best. And I'm trying to explain to you about the slop and the flop. The slop never really mattered. If you got it and you figured it out and you were doing it right using proper technique, there was no slop. It just slid around along the knife edge and the apex with full flat contact. Okay, so now we have flop. We took care of the flop. The Gen 3 Pro originally had a backsplash. Some of yours has a backsplash. If you go with something like the stable riser kit, then we remove the backsplash or we cut it down. And since then we've put on now the backstops that take care of the flop. So we have the slop and the flop answered, taken care of. This is the newest, latest that Wicked Edge offers. They went to this to manufacture everything in-house to get away from having to have people manufacture this stuff for them. There, like anything, there is a failure rate in them, and they did have some. I had a lot of these over the years. I have a lot of brackets and guide rods there because I had them all set up with different length guide rods. So I could go and just slide it out and slide one in to compare it. if you have to unscrew the guide rod off the bracket and change it out, by the time you do all that, you lose track of what you're trying to compare. If you have two different ones, you can set them side by side and use them to compare them. So I have a lot of duplicates, and I have guide rods for all the different setups. So I've used a lot of guide rods and a lot of swivels over the years, and there is a failure rate. It's not a high rate, but there is a failure rate. Are they sloppy? No, they're not sloppy. Are they floppy? Yes, they're floppy. For the flop, also, Expert Corner Group, we have boots, dust boots that slide down over these balls, and they fit tight so that there's nothing that gets in there. At the same thing, they help with the swivel a little bit to slow it down, maybe. But they are meant to go on here, and you should lubricate it a little bit and then slide down over and cover up those balls, and then you have the backstop. So there's flop and slop and all that in that old post that came up. I was trying to see, did someone add to it, and I can't see where anybody put anything to that post in the last year. Thanks.